Yo, what's going on, guys? For some weird reason, I can't seem to get this camera working the way I need it to. But I've got another issue of Kate today for you. Yes, it is story time. What the fuck are you doing? Hey, what are you doing in my car, Kate? Always talking shit about me. What the fuck? Sydney, I'm gonna accuse you of sexual assault. All right, you know what, guys? I'm sorry, but Kate's just rocked up in the car here, so I'm afraid that I'm gonna have to bounce. That's right, you get out of here. I'm gonna sort this out, bastard Sydney. Yeah, fuck Sydney. This is my show. This is all about me. And how I was duped out of motherhood at 39. As I lay on the bathroom floor, clutching my stomach, the tears rolling down my cheeks like torrents, all I could feel was a gaping, infinite sense of loss. I know you thought I was going to say my gaping hole, but it was more of an infinite set of loss. Sorry, I'm just bit upset here at being duped out of motherhood. Yet I was not at some funeral of a loved one. I was at a child's 4th birthday party, and I was the only woman there without a baby. I never planned on being 39 and childless, even though I rejected Sergey, who wanted to marry me and have babies when I was 32. But here I was, a few months shy of my 40th birthday, and all I was clutching was a Prada handbag. Back at the party, the yummy mummies were settled around the kitchen table as they casually fed their toddlers pizza and wiped up baby sick from their newborns. And you know, if I was a mother, if I was a single mother, I would feed my babies pizza too. Amid the mayhem, I was shouting into my mobile and organizing my glamorous Saturday night ahead. I laughed and joked about how I would be wearing fluorescent pink hot pants at a party. Sorry, I just had an image of myself at the party, but it was empty laughter. My nephew came over and sat on my knee. He flung his arms around my neck and clung to me. I could smell that unique baby smell and marveled at the sensations in my body as I held him close. Yet I knew that I would have to hand this little bundle back. And then all I would feel would be the aching loss for the children I would never have. Grief and loss. These are two emotions that have become commonplace in my emotional repertoire of late. It can be frightening to yearn for a child, and it is hard to fathom the desperate urgency that comes with thinking that maybe one day I could be a mother. But after that party, I had an epiphany. In 6 months' time, I will be 40, and after a great deal of soul-searching, I have decided that I am bowing out gracefully from the baby race. I cried myself to sleep for weeks. No, sorry. No child. Not now. Not ever. People look at someone like me, a woman who is still attractive, has her own career, and doesn't have children, and think that either I am an unfeeling monster or a tragic failure. Possibly a combination of both. Sometimes they say it to my face. Imagine that, having something said to my face instead of behind my back. Imagine that. It must have been a man saying it to me, because women always say shit behind my back. Just a week ago, a well-meaning friend stood triumphant with her 2-year-old on her hip and told me, "Well, Kate, you don't like children, do you?" I lost my rag. I made it clear that I had made a choice to not have children, even though I totally didn't. But I made it clear that I did. I am not one of those women who sat down at 30 and categorically factored out babies from their life plan. I love children and share all the motherly instincts of most women. But it is a painful modern truth that there is a growing number of women, usually my feminist friends, The proportion of women under 50 without children has doubled over the past 2 decades. So have the amount of feminists who have simply forgotten to have a baby. Somehow, amid the schmoozing and the broadening of the mind, the baby question has always been put on the back burner. And then suddenly, at exactly the point when infertility cannot be ignored, like other childless women, realize it's too late. What went wrong? How is it that the age-old business of having babies has suddenly become fraught with so many difficulties? An important clue can be found back in the late 70s when I was in my teens. I was part of the generation of schoolgirls who, instead of being propelled towards childbirth by cultural and religious expectations, could balance motherhood against a career and good times. The result is that my childless contemporaries and I are the fallout generation from the sexual revolution and feminism. The real-life Bridget Joneses who spend their evenings getting drunk instead of reading bedtime stories. We were told by feminists we could have it all, but in reality, we were sold a pipe dream by feminists. The reality is that we forgot we are helpless in the face of our biological clocks. Feminists didn't tell us that. And now it is simply too late for a lot of us. Most of us feminists. Back then it all seemed so different. We were being freed from a life of drudgery. Or so the feminists ranted as they deconstructed the romantic ideal of marriage and motherhood. Those damn feminists had lied to me and ruined my chance of motherhood. And now I speak 5 languages. And I rejected Sergey. And along with the rest of my neo-dolly birds, I burnt my M&S bra in the name of freedom. And now I have saggy tits because I burnt my bra. The very act of having and rearing children was seen as counterintuitive, boring and inconsequential at worst. My friends and I embraced the feminist ideology. See, I wrote it here, feminist ideology. That was going to give us a life of glittering prizes. See, I wrote that. I wrote feminist ideology was going to give us a life of glittering prizes. Oh, they lied to me. At the time, our narrow notion of self-development saw settling down as a sacrifice too hard to pay. We wanted the same chances to succeed as any man, and we wanted the same choices that they had. Flashback to my early 20s, and I was living that promised life. I was at university in Kent, studying Italian, and life was a round of parties here and abroad, on the carousel. My dating diary was full of London's eligible bachelors. Sorry, I misread that. My carousel was full of London's eligible bachelors, and my friends were as footloose and fancy-free as I was. So what I mean to say is my friends and I were all riding the London carousel. There was a whole gang of us who used to hang around the Roebuck and other pubs in Knightsbridge, always ready for a party or a trip to the Embassy nightclub. When a friend of mine got married at the age of 25, we pitied her. We pitied her. We got trashed on vodka and were sick in her parents' bedroom. We were living the life that only men had been allowed to live. We drank too much, smoked too much, ate badly, and behaved even worse because we were feminists and we could. We were the modern women who didn't care less about oiling the wheels of the middle-class dinner party, much less about getting a mortgage and having 2.4 children. I was living the glossy magazine lifestyle that was built around freedom and my choice. After university, I worked in the fashion industry and then traveled in Europe, making the most of my fluent French and Italian while enjoying a life of parties, late nights, carousel riding and fun. I had the freedom to drink wine into the early nights instead of going to bed early for the school run. The next day, the freedom to book a holiday for one and dinner for one, microwave dinners for one, basically everything for one. Then, when I was 33, my elder sister gave birth to her first child at the age of 38. When I went inside the delivery room and I saw her husband burst into tears of joy, I realized in that instant I realized in that instant what real happiness meant. It was a feeling I had never experienced. I had never experienced real happiness because I was a feminist. So what did I do? Instead of working up to a reality shock about my own ticking body clock, all I remember thinking about was how lucky I am. That my gym-toned body wouldn't be ruined by stretch marks and sagging breasts. In fact, even though I knew deep down that they had got their life choices right, part of me pitied my sister and the other new parents as they tried to come to terms with the shock of how having a baby had changed their life. I pitied them because all feminists pity mothers, because you shouldn't have kids if you're a feminist, or a woman, because that's oppression of women. After all, weren't their faces etched with weariness? One day I went round to see a friend who was recently divorced after her husband left her shortly after she'd given birth to their third child. She was a wreck and so unhappy that she took her bad mood out on her offspring. Imagine that. A single mother taking her bad mood out on her offspring. That evening, as I watched her put her children to bed, I almost ran out of the house, heaving a sigh of relief as I went, reassuring myself how clever, how witty and clever I was to have escaped such a terrible fate. But now look at me and look at her. She has 3 lovely teenagers who are all at top London schools and who all give a powerful meaning to her life. All I have are the empty hours to fill at the weekend. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming anyone else, and I certainly don't expect any sympathy. I realize now that you get out of life what you put into it. Besides, there have been so many times where I could have jumped on the baby wagon myself. When I was 35 and living in Geneva with my Swiss boyfriend, he broached the subject of children. He had a well-paid job while I was a freelance writer and had the time to have a baby. It should have been perfect, but all I could see was years of mundane drudgery looming ahead and boring children who would never be able to switch off. So I left and went back to London to a pokey flat in Earl's Court. 2 years later, I published my second book. I was 37, and friends were beginning to view me as a bit of a shallow hedonist. Suddenly, I wasn't a glamorous singleton anymore. I was just a bit sad. They were too preoccupied with taking their toddlers to ballet classes to live vicariously through my romantic adventures. The truth was, I was slowly becoming a sad non-person in the world of child rearing, and it was painful. I made more of an effort, but as I accompanied them and their children to the park on a Saturday afternoon and shivered in the cold, I felt like a failure. I had no nose to wipe, no tears to dry, or words of tenderness when they fell down. All I had was a hair appointment. Looking back, I think I was suffering from delayed maturity syndrome. I was so used to acting like I was 27 that I'd convinced myself I was in the prime of my life. The trouble is, no matter how much Botox we inject into our faces or how much miles we run on the treadmill, we cannot change our biological reality. Delayed maturity means that many women out there waste their narrow window of fertility. Right up until last year, I was in denial, as if it was some kind of badge of honor. Then last summer, my little sister, who have hit 35, had her second baby boy, and my desire to have a baby hit me like a lorry or like a wall. I found it excruciatingly painful to be around my new nephews, Oscar, and stop seeing both my sisters for over a year. One of the few times I held Oscar, we were at a friend's christening. The physical craving to hold my own baby was unbearable. The experience really shook me, and I was forced to recognize for the first time in my life that babies are a big deal, and that I've missed out on something so fundamental to my happiness. And recognizing that fact is no comfort. The hole is simply too big. No, not that one, the hole in my heart. Even months later, the emotions are so raw and close to the surface. The pain of wanting a child never goes away. Whenever I'm out, my eyes are drawn to babies. I feel a terrible urge to pick them up and hold their tiny bodies. I sit and watch toddlers in playgrounds and listen to their peals of laughter ring in my ears, and don't know whether I want to laugh or cry. I think I'm gonna cry instead. So why, when my life seems so bereft without children, have I given up on motherhood? I have to say, I went through a period last year when my baby yearning was so intense that I said to myself, sorry, that if I didn't have a man by the time I was 40, I would either ask an obliging male friend or find a sperm donor. Now I realize that for me, marriage and children are a package. I am single. Even if I met Prince Charming tomorrow, we would still have to date, marry, and then have the children. I would be a wrinkly 44-year-old before I even had the epidural. As desperate as I am for a child, single motherhood is also not an option. I have seen friends go through it, and it is brutally hard. The loneliness of raising a child alone is too much. Besides, being a first-time mother in her 4th decade does not come with much dignity. Who wants to be the oldest mother at the school gates? Having a child after 40 is a bit like saying you want to run a marathon at 65 and the odds are stacked highly against you. For a start, 50% of pregnancies in women over the age of 40 end in miscarriage. I am not pretending that the awful truth has not gone away. I live with my decision every day, but a baby is not a prize that you have to win at all costs. And I think the costs are too high for the baby to pay when the mother is over 40. I'm actually insightful for once. The last thing I want is to carry on working and raise a latchkey kid. A lot of my friends and acquaintances are rearing an army of neglected middle-class children as single mothers. They are women who, in order to maintain the lifestyles they want, keep going out to work, leaving their children to pay the price, as they need to be cared for outside the family. Even Madonna and Cherie Blair, with all their money and helpers, are busy career women, snatching quality time with their children. On the plus side, now that I've finally put the baby question to rest, I am finding that there are benefits to having a life free of offspring. There is the freedom to do what you want and to pursue the career that you want. I'm also newly in demand with older, divorced, alpha males. Having done with the family and success thing, they are not interested in having another family and find another woman attractive, unhindered by their own children, an attractive companion. The emotional progress I've been through in deciding not to have children is just like going through a bereavement. As a friend who lost her mother 10 years ago put it, the pain is still raw, but it just becomes a part of your life and you learn to deal with it. It is when an emotion is fresh that it's scary. So for me, I am slowly discovering that while the suffering will not go away, there is a way to live through the wounds. I can't believe I made it through that. I just made it through. Thank you for listening to my story. I love it when you listen to my stories. No! Sydney, what are you doing? Fuck out of here. I'm keeping those glasses, Kate. What's this bullshit? Guys, this is a textbook example of what will happen to women if they delay motherhood to their 40s. Kate is a living, breathing specimen of exactly what goes down when you leave it too late, of exactly what happens when you believe feminists that tell you can have it all. And you can have it all, just not at the same time. You need to put something first and something last. And I strongly suggest if you ever want to have kids, you don't put that last. Oh man, I love this stuff, guys. I can't believe Kate. She is just the gift that keeps on giving. Like every week I find something new from this woman. This is crazy. But anyway, guys, look, I've actually got to get off to somewhere now. So I've just parked my car outside, and it's what time is it now? It's 8:17 Sydney time, and I've got to be in there by 8:30, so I'm going to bounce. But guys, if you love this video, please share it with everyone you know. Share it with the feminists that you know that want to wait, right? And even if you just send the article at the bottom of the description, right, just send that to them and say, look, this is a woman who waited till her 40s. Read this, right? She was a feminist. She admits it. She admits she bought into the feminist ideology. Read this. Is this what you want from your life? Is this what you want? Because you're not going to find the guys you can find now when you're 40. Tell them that right now. And thank you so much for everyone joining. We've got 130 people in the stream. Smash that thumbs up, guys. I appreciate you all so much. And a big thank you to Ron Clark. He said that The hair color really brings out Kate's eyes. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? That wig that crazy bitch was wearing is just like mint. All right, guys, I'm out of here. If you want to check me out on my other platforms, check in the description below. If you want to buy one of these sweet Sydney shirts or one of the green hoodies that I've got as well, these are comfy AF and warm as hell. So especially if you're in the US, Canada, heading into winter, you're going to love these. Represent.com, my store in the description below. Guys, if you want to hit me up with anything, sydneymigtow@gmail.com is my email address. If you want to donate via PayPal, or if you want to pledge on Patreon, the paypal.me/sydneymigtow or patreon.com/sydneymigtow. I've got so many topics lined up, I just don't even know where to start, seriously. But I had to do this. I had to do my weekend Kate special. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button or that thumbs up button, smash both of them. Thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and the bell next to the subscribe button as well, so you can get the daily notifications. If you haven't been getting my notifications, check the bell, make sure it still ticks. Sometimes YouTube unsubscribes. If you haven't seen my videos for a while, I do them daily, so that means you've been unsubscribed. Hit the subscribe button again, the bell next to it. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Tell me what you think in the comments below about Kate's epiphany. Appreciate you all. Peace.